I've been meticulously reviewing the core narrative structures. My focus is now on how to best translate these concepts into engaging short chapters. Right now, I'm experimenting with different framing methods to present the information in a concise yet informative manner. The goal is to convey complexity in digestible portions. I'm now injecting a humorous perspective into the narrative examples. I'm taking the core concepts like storyboarding and pre-visualization and twisting them into relatable scenarios with a light-hearted touch. The focus is on illustrating how these techniques can be applied to everyday mundane events with soft jokes and stick figures. I want to make the high stakes feel absurdly low stakes in a fun way, like a stick figure conquering laundry, or a mental pre-visualization of navigating a cheese platter. I'm now focusing on blocking, continuity, and insert shots. The kitchen dance with the dog illustrates blocking. The script supervisor in the brain emphasizes continuity, like a missing remote. Finally, I'm thinking of how I would insert a close-up on a delicious snack, highlighting it as an insert shot that adds a touch of the sublime to the ordinary. I'm now zeroing in on defining dramatic tension through seemingly small actions, the click of a key in a lock, the subtle textures of everyday items like a flower or steam from tea, and the anticipation of arrival. I'm focusing on these minute elements to build a sense of suspense. I'm now integrating the insert fuzzy socks concept and further defining the chapter structure. I'm focusing on the bowl rule and how to avoid losing things in the process of thought generation. I've integrated my internal director, the crew, and action for the internal voice. I'm also ensuring the tone is light and not overly serious. I had to make a phone call, a scary one, to the dentist. My heart rate was 120 BPM. So I grabbed a napkin and a Sharpie. I drew 3 panels. Panel 1, a stick figure, me holding a rectangle, phone. Stick figure has a brave smile. Panel 2, a speech bubble saying, "I would like an appointment, please." Panel 3, stick figure giving a thumbs up. The storyboard, it was a comic strip blueprint keeping my anxiety levels low. I looked at the drawings. See, I told myself, we have a visual plan. We stick to the script. No improvising about how much I hate floss. Having a storyboard makes the future look manageable. It's hard to be terrified of a scenario that you've already drawn as a cartoon potato. I made the call. I hit my marks. I got the appointment. The potato prevailed. I stood in the parking lot of the grocery store. It looked crowded. I closed my eyes and booted up the internal computer. Pre-visualization. I ran a digital simulation in my mind. Enter doors. Turn left. Produce. Grab spinach. Dodge cart. Check out. It was an early rehearsal, so the surprises stayed fun, not frightening. I visualized the route. I anticipated the bottleneck by the bananas. By the time I actually walked in, I felt like I had already done it. I know this level, I thought. I have played the beta version. I navigated the aisles with the confidence of a pixelated hero, successfully avoiding the impulse buy section, mostly. I was cooking. My dog Barnaby was helping, hoping for cheese. If we weren't careful, this would be a slapstick tragedy involving a tripped human and spilled marinara. Let's work on the blocking, I told him. I established our marks. Me, stove. Barnaby, the rug. Stage left.
I stood on my porch at 7 p.m. The world, which had been harsh and blinding all day, suddenly softened. The light turned amber. The dust motes dancing in the air looked like fairy dust. It felt like the sun's gentle hug right before it went to sleep. "Sorry about the sunburn at noon," the sun whispered. "Here is 20 minutes where you look like a supermodel." I accepted the apology. Everything looks better in this light, even the recycling bin. I basked in the warmth, feeling my anxieties melt like butter on toast. It's the universe's way of saying, you made it through the day, here is a filter. 20 minutes later, the gold faded. The sky turned a deep, rich indigo. The street lights flickered on, glowing orange against the blue. It was a tranquil post-sunset glow that hummed a lullaby to the sky. The birds stopped shouting. The traffic quieted down. "Shh," the sky said. "It's time for the cool-down lap." I sat on the step, feeling the temperature drop. Blue hour is for introspection. It's for tea. It's for realizing that the day is done and you don't have to be productive anymore. I let the blue light wash over me, feeling cooler, calmer, and ready to become a potato for the evening. I looked at an old photo of my grandmother. It wasn't sharp like my phone pictures. It was speckled, textured. It's like visual vinyl crackle, I thought. Digital is clean, but grain feels held. It feels lived in. I decided to apply some mental grain to my day. Instead of demanding crystal clear perfection from my life, I accepted the fuzziness, the noise, the little imperfections that make it real. A grainy day is a cozy day. It has texture, it has soul. I couldn't decide whether to write in my journal or type on my laptop. Film stock versus digital, I mused. My handwriting is messy, my typing is fast. I realize they are just different canvases. Both say, express yourself, darling. There is no wrong way to capture the story. Some days are messy ink days, some days are crisp font days. I chose the pen. It felt like shooting on 16mm, a little wobbly but very romantic. I watched a hummingbird. It was vibrating, high frame rate. I watched a sloth video. It was deliberate, low frame rate. I wondered how many frames per second my brain was recording. When I'm stressed, I'm at 60 FPS, seeing every flaw, every movement, hyper aware. Lower the rate, I told myself. Drop to 24 FPS. At 24 frames per second, life gets a little motion blur. It gets dreamy, it softens. I decided to view the world at a lower frequency, fewer mini hug frames per second, but each one lasting a little longer. I dropped a marshmallow into my cocoa. In my mind, I hit the button. Slow motion. The marshmallow descended. It broke the surface tension. A crown of milk splashed up in a perfect coronet. The marshmallow bobbed, sank, and resurfaced like a sugary submarine. Slow motion elongates time so you can savor each emotional marshmallow. By watching it in high-speed capture, I turned a split-second event into a saga. It gave me time to appreciate the physics of joy. The kitchen was a disaster. I did not want to clean it. Cue the Benny Hill music, I said. Fast motion. I sped up. I scrubbed dishes like a maniac. I wiped counters at Mach 2. By treating the chore like a fast-forward sequence, I tricked myself into thinking it was a fun montage. Look at me go, I thought, blurring through the room. Fast motion speeds things up like double-time chores so you can relax sooner. 10 minutes later, the kitchen was clean, and I was out of breath but triumphant. I watched the cloud shadows move across the floor. They were slow, boringly slow, but then I imagined a time-lapse. If I compressed the whole afternoon into 10 seconds, those shadows would be racing. The flower on the sill would be dancing toward the sun. Time-lapse is the universe's highlight reel, reminding you of life's beautiful pace. It taught me that even when things seem stagnant, like my motivation, there is movement happening that I can't see. Growth is slow, but in the long run, it looks like a dance.
I was standing in the corridor of the DMV, a place where hope goes to buffer. I felt the familiar creep of anxiety. Where do I go? Who am I? Why are the fluorescent lights buzzing in B-flat? Then I looked down. The tiles. Long, grey, rectangular tiles stretched out in front of me, converging perfectly at the license renewal counter. I sighed in relief. The architecture was holding my hand. Follow us, the floor whispered. We are the visual arrows of destiny. We will not let you wander into the new registration line by mistake. I followed the lines. They were like a friendly tour guide for my eyeballs, gently ushering me toward my goal. I realized that the world is full of these helpful little vectors, roads, fences, checkout conveyor belts, just trying to point us in the right direction so we don't have to guess. I stepped forward, guided by the grout, feeling supported by geometry. I sat at my desk. It was a landscape of doom, sticky notes, tangled cables, 3 empty mugs, and a menacing tax form. My brain tried to process all of it at once. It hurt. Stop down, I told my eyes. Wait, no, open up. We need a shallow depth of field. I decided to treat my vision like a lens with an f1.2 aperture. I focused intensely on a single, happy object, a small plastic dinosaur sitting on my monitor. Suddenly, the tax form became a vague white blob. The cables became a soft black fuzz. The clutter didn't disappear, but it lost its sharp edges. It could no longer hurt me. Depth of field is the cinematic equivalent of saying, I acknowledge that the mess exists, but I am choosing to only perceive this dinosaur right now. It's a kindness to your own brain to blur out the noise. I was filming my friend Sarah telling a story in my living room. Behind her was a pile of laundry I had been ignoring for 3 business days. I twisted the lens ring, shallow focus. Sarah's face became crisp and radiant. The laundry pile behind her dissolved into a creamy, abstract painting of blues and greys. Look at that, I thought. The laundry is taking a nap. Shallow focus allows the background to relax. It tells the environment, you don't have to perform right now. You can just be soft colors. It was a relief to know I could turn my domestic failures into aesthetic texture just by changing the focus. Sarah looked like a star. The laundry looked like a cloud. Everyone wins. I was staring out the window at a raindrop racing down the glass. My focus was locked on it. I was invested. I was rooting for it. Then, in the distance, past the glass, I saw the mailman slip on a wet leaf and do a little recovery dance. My eyes performed a rack focus. Smoothly, effortlessly, the raindrop went blurry and the mailman became sharp. It wasn't a jarring cut. It was a fluid transfer of attention. A rack focus is a gentle head turn for the lens. It's a polite way of saying, hold that thought, raindrop. Something hilarious is happening in the midground. It reminded me that I can shift my attention without snapping my neck. I can slide from work mode to bird-watching mode, gently. No need to force it, just turn the ring. I was stuck in gridlock traffic. It was raining, it was dark, it was the trifecta of misery. The brake lights ahead of me were glaring red eyes of judgment. I took off my glasses. I was parked, don't worry. Instantly, bokeh. The angry red brake lights exploded into soft, fuzzy orbs. The street lights became glowing moons floating in the mist. The oncoming headlights turned into sparkling diamonds. Oh, I whispered, it's a party. Bokeh is the universe's way of saying everything is going to sparkle if you just stop squinting so hard. The traffic jam hadn't moved, but now it looked like the inside of a jewelry box. Those dreamy background bubbles whispered to me that even a frustrating commute can look like magic if you just let it go a little soft around the edges. I put my glasses back on to drive, but I kept the bokeh in my heart. I'm currently dissecting the 5 newly presented concepts, which are essentially variations on the shot size theme. My focus is on thoroughly understanding how these concepts relate to the established hierarchy of shot sizes, especially in the context of extreme wide shots. I'm keen to define the subtle distinctions the user is highlighting. I'm now fully immersed in the narrative formats for each shot size. The soft novel structure is coming together, and I'm fleshing out the first chapter, the extreme wide shot. I'm aiming for a breezy, insightful tone, capturing the essence of the cinematographer character. This big picture perspective is taking shape beautifully. I'm now visualizing a Google Earth zoom, contrasting a bad hair day with the vastness of the universe to highlight the diminishing importance of the self. This extreme perspective sets the stage. Following that, I'm developing the wide shot concept, focusing on inclusivity and breathing room, such as a breakfast scene with a shy salt shaker where everything belongs. I'm now fully immersed in the Goldilocks zone, exploring the comfortable conversational aspects. My focus now is on defining the medium shot through the lens of a friendly, transactional exchange. I'm visualizing a barista interaction, ensuring it embodies the friendly yet safe space. I'm also delving into the close-up, envisioning a supportive friend who listens empathetically, mirroring intimate vulnerability. I'm now zeroing in on the extreme close-up, envisioning the boot moment, the detail that grabs you. A wet, twitching cat nose is my current focus, representing the intimacy of this shot. I'm checking for softness, gentle humor, and adherence to my character's voice as a somewhat anxious filmmaker. I'm keeping the flow from the tea-drinking scene going as well. I spilled coffee on my favorite white shirt. In the immediate moment, this was a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. It was the end of days. It was a stain on my very soul. But then, I deployed the extreme wide shot. I mentally pulled the camera back, way back. Up past the ceiling fan, through the roof, up into the clouds. I imagined looking down at my house from the International Space Station. From up there, you can't see the coffee stain, you can't even see the shirt, you just see a beautiful blue marble floating in silence. The EWS is my anxiety medication. It reminds me that I am just a tiny microscopic speck on a lovely rock spinning around a star. And if I am that small, then my coffee stain is positively subatomic. I took a deep breath, feeling the vast, cooling distance of the universe, and went to find the stain remover. The galaxy remains unbothered, and so shall I. I set the table for dinner. Just me, a plate of pasta, a glass of water, and a very judgmental candle. I looked through the viewfinder of my mind. The framing felt tight, claustrophobic. We need more context, I whispered. I stepped back into a wide shot. I adjusted the chair so it wasn't jamming the table. I moved the salt shaker, the shy cousin of the condiment family, into the frame so it wouldn't feel left out. I opened the curtains to let the twilight in. Now, the frame breathed. It wasn't just man eating noodles, it was human existing in a habitat. The wide shot is democratic. It lets the room speak. It reminded me that I'm not trapped in my head. I'm sitting in a physical space that supports me. I ate my pasta with plenty of elbow room, enjoying the company of the room itself. I walked into the coffee shop. The barista asked, "How are you?" Now, if I were in a close-up mindset, I might have said, "Well, I have existential dread and my left knee clicks when it rains." If I were in a wide-shot mindset, I might have shouted, "We are all stardust," but we were in a medium shot, the Goldilocks zone. "I'm doing well, thanks. Can I get a latte?" I replied. The medium shot is the cozy sweater of social interaction. It's waist up. It captures the smile and the hand gestures, but it crops out the trembling knees or the untied shoelaces. It's a safe distance where we can exchange pleasantries without needing to exchange souls. We smiled, we transacted, we stayed comfortably framed. It was a perfect low-stakes scene. I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked tired. The bags under my eyes had their own luggage tags. I leaned in. The frame tightened, shoulders and head only. I've been meticulously examining concepts 61 to 64 on color grading, saturation, contrast, and monochromatic approaches. My goal is to synthesize these into a coherent framework for a soft novel-style response. I'm focusing on identifying key visual principles that contribute to that aesthetic. I'm now zeroing in on the narrative voice. I'm focusing on crafting a humorous, emotionally focused tone. The chapters will be like mini installments, presented from a first-person perspective. I'm imagining a slightly neurotic but lovable cinematographer narrator. Starting on chapter 61, I'm experimenting with the idea of a mental color grading for a mundane day to build on this framework. I want the humor to feel gentle and cozy. I'm now deeply engaged with contrasting vibrant and desaturated experiences. The grocery store scene, with its overwhelming saturation, is a fun foil to a cozy, desaturated nap. I'm exploring the humor in sensory overload and peace, and trying to convey a relatable message. It's okay to dial it back, to not always be neon. I'm also developing the emotional hook about accepting both ends of the color spectrum. I've started drafting the contrast chapter 2, highlighting the importance of light and dark for a well-rounded day. I've just finished the first draft of the blue period, chapter 64, focusing on the accidental all-blue outfit and the soothing simplicity it represents. I've leaned into the blueberry humor and the idea of mental peace through a lack of visual choices. Now I'm reviewing it against the established persona and ensuring all definitions and constraints are correctly woven in. I'm focusing on enhancing the chapter with technical terms like crushed blacks and loot to stay true to the cinematic narrator. Finally, I'll be checking the humor for any overstep in chapter 63 to prepare for the final polish. I've just revised chapter 64, specifically focusing on the blue period. I've worked to lighten the shadow elements, emphasizing a humorous clumsiness like a puddle splash. I've rephrased monochromatic as visual silence to make it feel less dull. I'm carefully avoiding a depressing tone, aiming for gentle amusement. I'm now polishing to make the visual descriptions crisp and to weave a sense of comfortable and controlled experience that the narrator's cinematic mind experiences. I sat at my computer staring at the footage of my morning. In reality, it had been a flat day, grey sky, lukewarm oatmeal, traffic jam. The raw file of my memory looked washed out and uninspiring. "We can fix this in post," I whispered to my brain. I opened the mental color grading suite. I took the memory of the traffic jam and added a warm amber tint. Suddenly, it wasn't being stuck. It was enjoying a podcast in a cozy car pod. I took the oatmeal scene and added a vintage grainy texture. Now it looked rustic and wholesome. Color grading is the magic of retrospect. It's the realization that I am the editor of my own past. I can leave the footage raw and gloomy, or I can apply a golden hour LUT look-up table to the whole mess. I cranked the warmth. I tinted the shadows teal. By the time I went to bed, my mediocre Tuesday looked like an indie film about finding joy in the suburbs. I walked into the supermarket and was immediately assaulted by the cereal aisle. The reds, the yellows, the neon greens, the boxes were screaming at my retinas. My internal saturation slider was at 100%. It was too much. I felt my energy draining. It takes a lot of emotional bandwidth to process that much vibrancy. I retreated to the pasta aisle. Beige noodles, brown rice, creamy sauces. Ah, I sighed. Desaturation. I realized that sometimes, for the sake of my sanity, I need to turn the color knob down. Life doesn't always have to be a Technicolor musical. Sometimes it's okay to live in sepia tone for an afternoon. I bought a loaf of brown bread and a grey pair of socks. It was a low saturation purchase, and it brought me a quiet, faded sort of peace. I was complaining to my friend about a minor inconvenience. I ran out of milk. Why can't life just be smooth, I whined. Then I looked at my monitor. I had a shot that was perfectly lit, but the blacks were grey and the whites were dim. It looked like visual oatmeal. It had no contrast. Boring, I muttered, dragging the curves tool to crush the blacks and boost the whites. The image popped. It became three-dimensional. I've been delving into the core elements of surrealist cinema, focusing on color symbolism and how it's used in this artistic movement. Genre conventions are also a point of focus. Examining visual metaphors and subtextual implications in film framing is a key next step. I also want to understand how different visual elements create emotional resonance. I'm now focusing on the soft novel format for this piece. Specifically, I'm working with vignettes in the first person from a quirky cinematographer. The goal is gentle humor and a comforting tone centered around emotional well-being. I've drafted a surrealist cinema concept, where a character embraces waking weirdness as art, focusing on dream logic. Refining it involves adding humorous details like orange juice in cereal and a melting clock moment to emphasize the absurdity. I am aiming to finish and polish this draft, then move to a new idea. I'm now deep diving into the symbolic power of colors. The name tag concept is proving useful, personalizing color emotion associations. I'm exploring how everyday objects reflect internal states. Blue dish soap represents calm, while a yellow banana symbolizes optimism. This helps with the cinematic element of color symbolism. I'm now fully immersed in subverting genre expectations, especially regarding the chaotic thriller trope, and playing with the concept of using visual metaphors. Instead of cliched bird flying away prompts, I'm finding my own way. The charging battery on my phone perfectly captures the feeling of personal and digital exhaustion. I also envision a knot in a shoelace as a metaphor for a day's problems. I'm now focusing on how to use framing to convey deeper meaning. I've been experimenting with scenarios where a character is partially hidden or subtly revealed. For example, I'm envisioning a character behind a stack of books which acts as a metaphor for shyness. I had a conversation while holding a giant mug, which became a shield. This leads to subtext suggesting that I'm guarded but enjoying tea. The end goal I'm working to achieve is a sense of emotional resonance at the film's conclusion. It won't be about technical perfection, but instead about the feeling that stays after the shot. I'm revisiting the draft, focusing on the tonal balance. I want to make sure the humor doesn't veer into excessive self-deprecation. It needs to stay centered on positive well-being. The transitions between chapters need smoother flow, and the ending should be genuinely comforting. The entire work should evoke a feeling of emotional warmth. I walked into the kitchen. The coffee maker was making a sound like a techno beat. I put the milk in the cupboard and the cereal in the fridge. I was wearing one slipper and one running shoe. "Cut," I whispered. We are in a surrealist phase. Instead of panicking about my scattered brain, I leaned into the dream logic. If a flaming giraffe walked through the hallway, right now, I would simply offer it some toast. Surrealism teaches us that life doesn't always have to make linear sense. Sometimes it's just a series of bizarre images stitched together by caffeine. I accepted the weirdness. I embraced the absurdity. I ate my cereal with a fork. It felt avant-garde. I stared at my closet. It wasn't just clothes, it was a paint box of feelings. I reached for a bright yellow sweater. "Hi," the sweater seemed to say. "I'm optimism." I looked at the grey sweatpants. "Hello," they whispered. "I'm radical acceptance of laziness." Color symbolism. I put them both on. Yellow top, grey bottom. Optimistic laziness. The hues wore name tags, announcing my internal state to the world. I realized I can code my day just by getting dressed. If I wear blue, I am calm. If I wear red, I am spicy. Today, I am a ray of sunshine that intends to nap. The colors don't lie. It was a dark and stormy night. thunder rumbled, the wind howled, genre convention dictated that I should be investigating a spooky noise in the attic with a flickering flashlight. Nope, I said. I am changing the genre. I made cocoa. I put on fuzzy socks. I turned on a lamp. I shifted the movie from horror to hygge documentary. Genre conventions are a cozy blanket of expectations. You can snuggle under them by watching a rom-com when you're sad, or you can toss them aside by refusing to be the victim in a horror movie. I decided my life is a low-stakes sitcom where nothing bad happens to the protagonist.